On today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, the Florida Panthers are 7-2-1 in their last 10 games and now are the first team out in the wild card race. On today's show, we'll be bringing in Alex Slemp from Full Press Hockey for this Sunday with Slemp episode of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, where we'll discuss the win for the Florida Panthers on Saturday night against the Minnesota Wild and look towards the back-to-back coming up for the Panthers, all on today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast.
Your Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Monday, January 23rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez. You can follow me on Twitter at MondoMan12. Follow the show account on Twitter at LO_FLA Panthers. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL Network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey with Flip Livingstone and Steele Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects with Heidi Halakash. And don't forget to send in your screenshot of your subscription to the Locked On Florida Panthers YouTube channel and your 5-star rating on whichever podcast app you listen to Locked On Panthers, and send it over to me via DM at LO_FLA Panthers or LockedOnFLAPanthers@gmail.com for your chance to win 2 free tickets to the Florida Panthers versus Tampa Bay Lightning game on February 6th. So, Cats fans, the Florida Panthers, they just keep rolling. They just keep finding a way to, best way to put it, not drop points, especially now in their last 10 games, 7-2-1. And crazy with the scheduling of how this month of January, which Paul Maurice looked at this all the way back in late November, early December, about worrying about this is going to be the biggest stretch of the year. And now with the Florida Panthers, earlier with the Panthers just last month, they had the toughest strength of schedule in the NHL right before the Christmas break. Now they're at 10. They've gone through some of the gauntlet and now right back into the race. Now just the first team out of the wild card race, and wrapping that up with a 5-3 win over the Minnesota Wild, where Sergei Bobrovsky is going to miss the next 3 games, including Saturday's game. The earliest he could return is Friday, and Eric Stahl being put on injury reserve with Chris Tierney being called. But this will be a great time to bring in my guest on the show. It is Alex Slemp from Full Press Hockey. It's another edition of Sunday with Slemp. It's a Sunday, so we're recording this right after the NFC divisional game between the San Francisco 49ers and Dallas Cowboys. And let's talk about, Alex, let's talk about just how great this run has been for the Panthers. Now, third time saying it now, 7-2-1 in their last 10.
7-2-1. Who would have thought just, a month and a half ago that, we would be looking at a run like this from the Panthers. So they've done an incredible job, turning it around ever since that game in Colorado when Paul Maurice went and, tinkered up with that top 6. And, since then, look at the guys who've heated up and have gone on runs. This team is looking very good right now. I don't think this stretch of 10 games is any fluke either. So I like what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking down at my notes and just looking at point streaks now for current Panthers right now. And some of them are going all the way back to that Colorado game. Sam Reinhart was a 7-game point streak, 3 goals and 7 assists. Barkov, 3 goals, 7 assists as well on a 7-game point streak. Anton Lundell with a 4-game point streak with three goals and 5 assists. Brandon Montour with a goal and 4 assists in the last the last few games. Carter Verhaeghe as well, 3 goals and 2 assists in the last few games as well. And just everybody, it's for this team, it's multiple players coming through. And we spoke about the goaltending situation for the Panthers on Saturday night. Alex Lyon having his first start as a Panther after coming in 2 minutes into the Montreal game, getting a win. Didn't start that game, but now his first start as a Panther. He's been around the league, 30 years old, and facing against his home state team in the Minnesota Wild. And I really, let's talk about how early on the Panthers really protected Alex Lyon in this one, especially early on, where the Minnesota Wild got more shots on goal. The shot attempts were around the same, but the Panthers were still forcing the Minnesota Wild around the perimeter. And early on, Alex Lyon wasn't there wasn't too much pressure on Alex Lyon early.
Yeah, no, they did a phenomenal job, protecting the goaltender, but I thought it was a really good balance between understanding, the situation they were in, the guy who they had between the pipes. It'd been a long time since he started a game. Obviously, he played most of that game in Montreal, but prior to, it was a full calendar year before that he had to start in the NHL. It's a lot of time away. But they did a good job protecting him, understanding what was there, but not deviating away from, the game plan they would have gone in had they had Spencer Knight back there or Sergei Bobrovsky. So I thought they did a phenomenal job balancing that, playing it a little bit safe, a little extra safe to, ease the the pressure on Alex Lyon, but also still trusting him and being like he is an NHL caliber goalie, and being able to still play their game, play on their toes, and push the pace against a Minnesota Wild team that can lock you down defensively. So I thought it was great balance. But yeah, excellent job of them protecting Lyon. But I don't want to discredit anything he did, because I mean, what a performance he came in with. So
Yeah,
fantastic stuff.
Yeah, and mostly the quality shots that Lyon did get were towards the second and the third period. That's when he really was facing with most of them. In the first period, we saw a shorthanded breakaway chance by Joel Eriksson Ek. Eriksson Ek got 7 shots on goal, while Matthew Boldy got 4, and they held Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello to 1 shot on goal each too. So, and there were so many times where Eriksson Ek and Matthew Boldy, which Matthew Boldy got a contract extension, which looks like a pretty decent cap hit for the Minnesota Wild, with all their buyout money that's connected to that organization as well. And of course, and also for Minnesota, 0 goals on 5-on-5. The 2 power play opportunities, the Boldy was the first one, which a lot of quick passing, and then Boldy right on the doorstep, and then a juicy rebound by Alex Lyon as well on the second one, and then Eriksson Ek is there on the rebound. Not gonna discredit Alex Lyon for that one neither, because there were so many times where even South Florida native Brandon Duhaime got a breakaway opportunity as well, and Alex Lyon closed the 5-hole. His lateral movement was great as well, and just I was joking in a group chat saying Alex Binnington, going back to like 2019 Jordan Binnington when he came mid-season for the St. Louis Blues.
Yes. Alex Binnington, I like it. My goodness, what a run that real Binnington, Jordan Binnington, had that year when he came in. Ooh, you think we can expect something like that out of Alex Lyon? Are we going to see Binnington 2.0?
No, not necessarily. I'm still expecting a tandem of Bobrovsky and Knight.
Yes,
but yeah, and also let's also discuss where the situation for the Panthers, just injury bug continuing for this team. Mentioned earlier about Stahl going on IR, Tierney recalled, Bobrovsky not on IR, but the earliest he could possibly return is Friday against the LA Kings. But the defense as well for the Panthers, Ekblad goes down early, 2 minutes into the game. Gus Forsling goes out later, and then there's a loose puck that Sam Bennett had in the Panthers offensive zone where he got sandwiched, and then he stayed in the game for a little bit, and then he had to go out. And just also, we a lot of people have crapped on Paul Maurice for what he's done this season, and also there's a little bit of the hand he's been dealt. But also, I give a win like this for the Panthers on Saturday night. I give a lot of credit to Paul Maurice on how he's been able to make adjustments, and also to the defense. For the most part, they're playing 4D most of the night.
100%. I mean, this is the exact reason right here that Zito went out, bringing in a veteran coach. Yeah, you go around the socials, the whole Fire Maurice chance had been going strong. I mean, that group is pretty quiet lately, and that game against Minnesota just showed the expertise that you get out of a veteran coach like Maurice. You were just talking about how strong they were 5-on-5, and they're doing that shorthanded, right? 4D. Then they had that 10 minutes where Brandon Montour is off the ice as well. And you've got this team shutting down the Minnesota Wild 5-on-5. I mean, that's coaching, that's system, and I mean, and also the players just digging deep in themselves and understanding the place they are in their season and how they just need these wins. But it's a collective thing, but it starts from the coach. Fantastic stuff from Paul Maurice. I mean, I've been big on him all season, and I like that I'm seeing his work come to fruition here, and just everything that him and the team have put in since the summer, since the fall, and now we are seeing all of it come together at the right time. The most important part of the regular season here. It's great stuff. This is great stuff.
Absolutely, and credit to the Panthers, especially defensively, for Alex Lyon being standing tall, especially on Joel Eriksson Ek and Matthew Boldy, and of course the situation with the Panthers mostly playing 4D. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we're going to talk about also the power play continuing to be hot for the Florida Panthers, and some Panthers who have gotten career highs in goals during their tenure as a Panther. We're going to be discussing that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. But first, we're going to tell you all about Athletic Greens. And our next partner is a product that I literally use every day. And I started using AG1 because if you're from South Florida or been in South Florida for a long time, you know that coffee runs that place. And for me, sometimes I need a little bit of a break from a coffee. So sometimes I go to my Athletic Greens. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens to help you stay right. This special blend of ingredients support your gut health, nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All the things. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 year free supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Back on this second segment here on this Monday, January 23rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. It is a Sunday with Slemp edition of the show. Alex Slemp from Full Press Hockey is here. If you want to follow his work online, you can follow it at Full Press Hockey, and his podcast, Full Press Panthers podcast, which he just released an episode just recently. But Alex, the power play, the power play, and the way the Panthers are creating offense as well. The Panthers did take advantage of Minnesota mistakes in their own zone. That's really how the first 2 goals happened for the Panthers. Just Reinhart intercepting a pass, then finds Barkov's stick, and then he gets it to Anton Lundell for the first one, and then a giveaway just right to Eetu Luostarinen's stick, and then he takes it by himself unassisted, which now Eetu Luostarinen has 10 goals on the season for the Panthers, and just the Panthers going off and running. And whenever you're pinning someone in their zone while you are also doing it, we spent segment number 1 just forcing perimeter shots on the other end. And then when you're forechecking well, and even when it's not coming on the forecheck, and just it feels like that the Minnesota Wild were anticipating being pinned as well to their own boards, that it caused them to cough up the puck, which help the Panthers take advantage of their opportunity.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. They seem to be off their game a little bit, and like you said, it led to mistakes. Panthers were all over. They're jumping all over those and capitalizing on them. So it was amazing work out of them. I love that Luosterainen goal where he just was able to jump in right on that rush, or sorry, not on the rush, but jumped into the zone, picks up the puck, walks in, nice little backhand, gets it in. He now has a career high in goals for himself. You were saying before we got into the second segment, players who are close to those career highs or have hit career highs already. And that's just something that I was hearing a little noise beginning of the season of. I'm going back to Maurice a little bit here, but they're saying that Maurice doesn't develop the young guys that well. Well, you look at Carter Verhaeghe, hasn't been in the league too long. Brandon Montour, not in the league too long. Eetu Luosterainen, they're all Luosterainen already career high in goals. Brandon Montour 3 away. Carter Verhaeghe 2 away. Talk about not being able to develop players. I don't know if that really holds up. We're seeing some great production out of Panthers top 6 right here. So yeah, I don't know about that stuff that was being said earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, now the Panthers, when it comes to goals per game, hold on, I'm gonna pull it up right now. I know their power play is number 13 in the league, but now their goals for per game are now inside the top 10. It's reflecting some of the analytic numbers that we've looked at earlier in the season, and defensively for the Panthers, they're we don't see players like Mark Stahl getting lost in his own zone and getting beat too often neither. Mark Stahl has been a lot better. I'll give credit where credit is due. And of course, for a long time in the game against the Wild, you had to see some of those a Mahura, a Gudis, a Stahl, a Montour stretch those minutes when Aaron Ekblad went to the locker room and Gus Forsling went to the locker room as well. And so that's also credit to the Panthers defense as well. They're not a team that gives up a lot of odd man rushes neither, like as far as the season averages as well. But also this is where the Panthers, it's the power play once again making the difference for the Panthers. They got one on the night. Carter Verhaeghe, you mentioned that he was 3 away from his career high, getting one getting one on a wrister right on the left circle as well. And I also want to give credit to Grigory Denisenko as well. He's been called up for a few games now for the Panthers. And in the first period, he would have had the goal of the year when he was when he was falling to his side and just missed the net high, and just the way he was still able to handle the puck too. That would have been the goal of the year. And then he created that fourth goal, which shortly after Brandon Montour went to the box for that 10-minute misconduct. Forsling quickly grabs the puck, gets it back on the ice, and then shoots it to make it 4-2 at the time. Lots of insurance goals too. The Panthers never allowed this game to be tied. Every time they got it down, every time the Wild got it to like 1, the Panthers were ready for an insurance goal, and happened 3 times in this game where it was a 1-goal deficit, and then boom, they didn't even allow them. And we haven't seen this too much this season, but now we've been seeing this a little bit lately, and credit to the Panthers for this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just night and day, this Panthers team compared to earlier, because like you said, you look at the early parts of the season, Panthers were never able to give themselves that cushion ever, that comfortability of a 2-goal lead. It always seemed like they were just playing these 1-goal games or playing from behind. So yeah, I mean, it makes watching the games a little bit easier. I mean, you're not white knuckling it as hard, but Denisenko, what you're talking about, just incredible what he has done since coming up. Players love him. Maurice loves him. I've really enjoyed watching him play. And, because we haven't really got to see a lot on this guy. He was highly touted when he got drafted. His development years have really been delayed because of injuries. He's just struggled to be able to be out there for a full campaign and allow himself to develop. So, he's older than, most prospects, for like his development stage where he's at. But I'm glad that the Panthers haven't, given up on him. They've got the kid. They brought him up, and he's getting some good looks, getting some good ice time out there, and he looks like a professional. I like he doesn't seem out of place with the big club. It's a big jump going AHL to NHL, and the poise he has with the puck, it amazes me. Like, it seems like he's been in the league for a few years, not just a few games, right? He's strong on the puck. He knows when to hold it. He doesn't play it like a hot potato. Doesn't cave under pressure. He just great poise with it, and so I hope he gets to remain up. I like what he brings to the team. I love what he's bringing to that bottom six, and yeah, so I hope this Denisenko kid gets to hang around with the club for a little bit longer. I guess he's going to get that opportunity with all these dang injuries that the Panthers have. So, yeah, that's kind of working out in his favor there.
Yeah, and he's using his big body to his advantage. So definitely, strong enough to continue to pin opposing players to their boards and just create puck separating hits for him as well. And it's crazy now, the Panthers with this win for them, their goal differential is back at 0. We spoke about how they're now the first team out of the wild card race, and it's crazy. It's still crazy to think that still when they trail after periods 1 and 2 that they still don't have a single win. But look at this. Look at this. After two periods when they lead, they're 21, 2, and 3 on the season still. And their third period goal differential is still right now at a -20. And this is without a 3-game winning streak. Wow. Neither. And this and despite the injury circumstance too. Mm-hmm. It's just I know numbers can skew sometimes through different points of the season, but we have a big enough sample size of games. But this now current run of 10 games, maybe I'm not. Maybe these are the real Panthers that we're seeing, but this is also what we spoke about of it taking time for players to get used to a system and getting used to each other. And of course, making adjustments on the fly. Of course, the lines, of course, that we spoke about, Lundell, Barkov, and Reinhart, and then Tkachuk being on that second line. And Tkachuk and Barkov didn't even have big nights on Saturday as well. So it's great to see that even when they don't have their big nights as well, that this one game for the Panthers, that you see the other complementary pieces backing them up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and it's something I really like about this season. I know we still have a lot of games to go, and playoffs are definitely not a lock, but they're trending in the right direction. And something I like about this season as compared to last is that they are going through these trials right now, and being able to battle through those and come out on top. All the things that you said about third period goal differential, certain players like stars not having their big nights but still getting it done, all those things. You look at how the Panthers are winning despite all the adversity and all the variables being thrown at them, how they're doing it, how they're getting these wins. These are the kind of moments that are going to make you successful should they make the playoffs. And I like that about this season more than the last, because I feel like the team, they come out the gate so hot, and they were kind of able to not coast, but that season really just came easy to them. They were a very well-oiled machine. They had success from the start all the way through. Sometimes I think you forget kind of how to battle, how to come up from being down. This team has been down right at the bottom, and they are fighting their way up and looking good. Should they make the playoffs, you're going to look at that first half of the season and know that that's all the things they learned there and battled through are leading them to the success that they're going to have in the playoffs. So, I mean, as hard as it's been to watch the season in the first part, I like the way the season has gone, and I think the players are learning a lot from what they've had to go through this season. It's only going to benefit them going forward.
Yeah, and they got through their first set of back-to-backs last week against the Sabres and the Leafs, getting 3 out of 4, and they're preparing for multiple sets of back-to-backs in this calendar week for the Panthers, and that'll be a good time to transition over to segment number 3, where we're gonna be discussing those 2 upcoming sets of back-to-backs for the Panthers this week, right before they hit the All-Star break in Sunrise, Florida. But first, we're going to tell you all about FanDuel. And the NFL playoffs are here, and we're excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the #1 sports book in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features to make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers, join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance for a bigger payout with the game parlay. There's some NFC and AFC championship games next week between the 49ers and the Eagles and the Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. I like the Chiefs and the Eagles to both make it to the Super Bowl, and it's an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use if you were to place your bets like me on FanDuel. So football fans and hockey fans and all fans of all sports, place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports book partner of Locked On. Back on this third and final segment here on this Monday, January 23rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. It is a Sunday with Slemp edition of the show. Alex Slemp from Full Press Hockey is here on the show. And Alex, so 4 games left right before the All-Star break. Both of them sets of back-to-backs. Bobrovsky won't be playing in either of them. But we got an encouraging performance from Spencer Knight down in Charlotte on Saturday afternoon, pitching a 23 save shutout for the Charlotte Checkers. Did give up 4 goals in there and against the Cleveland Monsters on Sunday, but when you look at it, 45 saves on 49 shots and for a 1918 save percentage in those 2 games. Going to be back with the team. I'm going to say that Alex Lyon gets one more start for the Panthers. He'll be starting in net against the New York Rangers, and Spencer Knight will be back for that so important game between the Florida Panthers and the not New Jersey Devils, Pittsburgh Penguins, who the Penguins lost to the Devils in overtime today. So the Panthers have been getting a little bit of help. The New York Islanders have been dropping some games lately as well, which now they are tied for most games and points, which Panthers owned a tiebreaker on that one, so it makes them the first team out. So scoreboard watch for the Panthers: Islanders games, Sabres games, Penguins, Capitals. Most of them metropolitan teams for the Panthers. So it makes even scoreboard watching more. But what are your thoughts going into this these 2 sets of back-to-backs this week for the Panthers?
They're huge. These are very big games, and to start, I'll say Spencer Knight coming back couldn't have had a better start. Pitching the shutout, looks great. You know, it's his first games in a while, so cut him slack on the back-to-back, letting in 4. That's all right. Obviously, will not be the starter against the Rangers. That would be 3 starts in a row mental. So that won't happen. He's no Glenn Hall. But he will get that start against the Pittsburgh game. It is these 2 games are huge. Like I mean, even the Rangers, because they're not in the final 2 wild card spots, but I mean they falter a little bit, and they're still a team that the Panthers could be chasing. And so this game is incredibly important. What I wonder though is you've got a back-to-back. You know how important that Pittsburgh game is. Right? To me, it's almost must win with the points that they've got up on the Panthers and the games in hand, and you only get to play them one more time the rest of the way. I feel like this is must win. So how hard are you going on the Monday game when you know you've got that Tuesday game coming up? And that is a huge game, a monster of a game. But I feel like the Pittsburgh Penguins, they're vulnerable right now. I mean, they started the season pretty hot. They've lost 10 of their last 14, I believe it is. So they've stumbled as of late. Losses to some lower teams. They had the L's against Ottawa there, and then the overtime loss here against the Devils. But they look vulnerable, and I think I've got a good feeling about it. I feel like the Panthers are going to be feasting on them. I think they realize the importance of that game. They're going to get Spencer Knight back for it. I think there's going to be a big rally around the team, some fire in them. I think no matter what happens in that Rangers game, they're going to be coming out hot against Pittsburgh. Playoff atmosphere in that one for sure. Must watch Tuesday night. Circle it on the calendar. Whatever you got to do, that's going to be a great game.
Yeah, and the next matchup after this game against Pittsburgh will be on March 4th at FLA Live Arena, and then for the game against the Rangers after Monday's game, their next matchup will be on March 25th at FLA Live Arena. So twice that you'll get these metropolitan teams at home and one road game in these very hostile environments as well. What I'm noticing with the schedule, and also with the Rangers, Igor Shesterkin is not posting a .930 save percentage like he was last season, and that is resulting in the Rangers not being as powerful as they were last year. Of course, they add former Florida Panther Vincent Trocheck, who's manning the second line along with Artemi Panarin. I mean, Artemi Panarin and Mika Zibanejad are still scoring. The power play goals for Chris Kreider haven't come as often as they have last season, so that's also what's been for the Rangers not being as dominant as they were last season as well. And really, key to this game, continue to get the power play going, because if you can rattle Igor Shesterkin, assuming that he's the starter for the Rangers, then you give yourself a better chance to get those 2 points.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to imagine that Shesterkin is the starter. Just from looking at what they've been doing with him, it looks like he kind of has like a 4-on-1-off sort of a deal. He's only played one game in that typical 4-game stretch he plays. So I imagine we're going to see Shesterkin, not Halak, who put up a Vezina-worthy performance against us last time we played the Rangers.
Mm.
Shesterkin, he doesn't look as godlike this year. He looks beatable. So that's good for the Panthers. Absolutely.
Yeah, and their goals against the top 5 in the league still at 2.63. Of course, Adam Fox as well. They have a great defense core with Adam Fox there. Keandre Miller as well is an incredible skater for the Rangers as well. So they have players who can, multiple defensemen who could play two-way as well. And that's really what's helped the New York Rangers just be on this maybe a little bit of a window. I know the analytics community doesn't really like the Rangers, especially last season, but but they're still a consistent playoff team. And there's even drama in New York too, with scratching Alexis Lafreniere. Capo Caco got scratched last year. There's rumors about Gerard Gallant's seat being hot in New York as well. So there's pressure for the New York Rangers also to win.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, you said it. You said it right. They are in a window, and so the pressure's going to be there. A difference that I see in this Rangers team from last season is that they were getting bailed out by Shesterkin, because their possession numbers were down, but they've drastically improved on that. And I think right now they said they're somewhere top 10, I think 8th, maybe, like in their Corsi. Just their possession 5-on-5. They've really stepped up that part of their game. It was an area of weakness, but they're better at that now this season. And so that's, I mean, when you go in to New York and you want to try and come out with 2 points on the road, you're going to have to be playing really smart with the puck. It's good puck management from the Florida Panthers in that game. Not confident up because they're a team that can capitalize on it, because that second line that you already talked about with Panarin and Zibanejad is lethal. They'll make you pay, and they'll also just hold on to the puck and just take away zone time from you. So I see the Panthers coming into that one. They've really got to bring in just a really smart game plan that is taking care of the puck first, and trying to, I mean, it sounds so cliche, but I mean, that's just the way that you're going to beat a team like the Rangers. So, because they've really improved in that side of their game this season.
Yeah, and when you, of course, having possession of the puck, and then of course when your goalie's not posting godlike save percentage like Shesterkin is, it really helps with posting some wins. And right now they're third in the Metro, even though I believe it's still going to be like a 2-horse race between the Devils and the Hurricanes there in that division. So I'm still expecting the Rangers to maybe finish third, and who knows, maybe Washington catches them, because they Washington, the goaltending department there with Charlie Lindgren and Darcy Kemper has just been incredible this season as well. So that could be a pretty decent race. Who knows what that race could look like for the rest of the season. But Alex, I want to thank you once again for joining me on this Monday edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, a Sunday with Slemp edition of the show. Tell everybody where they can find you online, and tell them all about your work.
Yeah, so you can find my stuff. It's over at fullpresshockey.com. It's where I got my articles. You can find all that there. I also do a podcast. I drop an episode every Sunday and Wednesday. We've changed up the schedule of that, so that's a new schedule going forward. You can find those wherever you listen to your podcasts. I also post them up on my Twitter, or if you're reading my articles over on fullpresshockey.com, they're always embedded in there, so you can get caught up. All the episodes are there. So, yeah, that's where you can find me. The handle on Twitter, Alex Slemp. You see it right there. And yeah, thanks once again, Armando, for bringing me on. Love being here. Great talking hockey with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Alex. And for you guys following this podcast, you can never have enough Panthers coverage. So make sure to go over there and check out what Alex has to say about the Florida Panthers on his own individual basis as well. So, Alex, thank you once again, and I'll see you next time.
See you then.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast so you'll be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Make sure to subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On AHL network, including Locked On AHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone, and Steel Roden, and Locked On AHL Prospects with Heidi Halakash. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And for your second listen of the day, make sure to listen to today's episode of Locked On Sports Today. Peter Bukowski gives you a 20-minute or less podcast on the entirety of the sports scene with exclusive interviews and the take of the day. Make sure to listen to Locked On Sports Today on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. So I'm Armando Velez with Alex Slemp, and you've been listening to the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.